May I formally introduce our next speaker. So we know him very fondly here in the university as Professor X, but formally, may I introduce him? He is Professor Alexor C. Ramos, PhD, or SESE. He is the 2024 Tomas B. Lopez Jr. Professorial Chair for Education and the 10th President of the University of Makati. Professor X is a standing committee member on higher education of Philippines Second Congressional Commission on Education, or EDCOM-2, and a commander of the Armed Forces of the Philippines under the Philippine Navy. He is a trained arbitrator of the Philippine Dispute Resolution Center and a lifetime member of the Philippine Economic Society. Dr. Ramos also served as a director of the Philippine National Red Cross, Makati branch, a board, and he finished his BSBA in Economics and MBA degree from Colegio de San Juan de Letran, Manila, and was awarded the San Vicente Liam de la Paz Most Distinguished Alumnus Award. He is also currently a member of the board of the International Board of Trustees of Letran, Manila. Dr. Ramos earned his PhD in management from the International Academy of Management and Economics with distinction and a postdoctorate degree in strategic management from the Philippine Christian University. Professor X and his wife Joyce are also an advocate of family life, being a team couple of the Worldwide Marriage Encounter Philippines. Please help me welcome our first keynote speaker, Professor X.
Thank you very much, Camille. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat, lalo na po sa ating mga future educators, sa ating mga bisita na nanggaling pa sa iba't ibang mga higher educational institutions, sa ating executive director ng Teacher Ed Council, at saka syempre mga estudyante natin dito sa University of Makati and mga kasama ko po nagsisilbi sa gobyerno. Nito lamang pong nakaraang buwan, nagpatawag po ng isang pagpupulong yung EDCOM 2 para po gawin yung National Education Plan ng ating bansa. Kasama po niyan yung pag-craft din ng National Workforce Development Plan. Mapalad po tayo dahil tayo po ay naimbitahan para makasama doon sa pagbuo nitong National Education Plan para sa ating bansa. This is a 10-year plan that we hope to submit by the end of our third year as work in EDCOM. At hindi po lahat ng miyembro ng mga committee ng EDCOM ay kasama doon sa pag-craft nitong plan na to. Si Dr. Jeannie Hoxon was also part of it. I was also part of it. And I'd like to share with you the initial inputs on why we are doing this. Sinimulan po kanina ng ating dekano, si Dr. Jason Berganya, nung nakaraang taon, nung lumabas po yung Year 1 report ng EDCOM, pinag-usapan po natin doon yung miseducation, yung pag-admit. We did not sugarcoat na meron talagang problema. Meron tayong kinakaharap na krisis patungkol sa edukasyon sa ating bansa. At dahil inamin natin na mayroong problema, ang sumunod na report ng EDCOM 2 ay paano natin to susolusyonan. Kaya nakalagay na po doon yung fixing the foundations. Yun po yung Year 2 report. At ang ginawa po ng mga miyembro po ng EDCOM ay kinalap po lahat ng mga datos na meron tayo patungkol sa kinakaharap natin na krisis sa edukasyon. At pag nalaman na natin, nakita natin yung mga datos na to, ay sana makagawa tayo ng mga konkretong solusyon para matugunan itong mga problemang ito. So, let me go on with the presentation. Can you go to the next slide, please? So, para lang po mailagay sa konteksto, nabanggit ko po kanina na we are now in the process of actually creating the National Education and Workforce Development Plan. This is part of the deliverables of EDCOM 2. Okay? Next slide. And it is hoped that it will include a roadmap with the clear key performance indicators and results framework to address the learning crisis. Next slide po. Ano ba yung mga learning crisis na binabanggit natin? Ito po ay snapshot lang ng kung ano ba yung kinakaharap na problema sa ating bansa patungkol po sa kalidad ng edukasyon. 1 of 10 students daw po sa ating bansa, okay, these are grade 5 students, cannot read. The Philippines ranks last among 58 countries in math and science. Sa grade 10 PISA, ang Pilipinas po has one of the lowest in the world in reading, math, and science. Sa grade 4, the Philippines ranks last among 58 countries in math and science. For graduates naman, there is a declining returns to education. Next slide. So, ano po yung mga patunay na bakit meron tayong ganong klaseng krisis sa ating bansa? Sa literacy po, napag-alaman po sa pagkuha ng datos na 48% of our grade 3 students are not grade level ready. Okay? Ibig sabihin po niyan, karamihan po sa ating mga estudyante, makikita niyo po dyan yung color red, they are considered to be low emerging readers. Ang kaya lamang nilang banggitin ay 4-letter sounds. Okay? So, yung target po na mapunta tayo doon na transitioning leader, no? Yung can read with fluency 51 to 75% for that grade level at the beginning of the school year. So, kaya nga madalas ang tanong, parating tinatanong din to, kahit naman sa kolehiyo, kung alam natin na may problema pala, bakit natin patuloy na pinapasa? Diba? Nung ako po ay maging part ng committee, the technical panel that did the work for the K-12 transition, lumabas na po yung datos na yan dati pa. And that was several years ago. Doon po sa datos na pinag-aralan namin, because I was part of the team that was working on the K-12 transition, and my task then was to actually ensure that there will be employable skills, because at that time, not everyone can go to college. No? Nabago na po ngayon because of UNIFAS. But lumabas po doon sa datos na yon na out of every 10 students na papasok sa ating basic ed, grade school, 6 lamang ang makakatapos ng grade 6. At ang number 1 reason, at tatakalakayin po natin yan mamaya, kung bakit sila hindi nakakapasa is because of nutrition gap. Okay? Especially in grades 1 up to grades 3. And nutrition, ang kakambal po niyan ay poverty. Kaya ako po, sabi ko nga, naniniwala na wala naman taong bobo, kaso maraming taong gutom. Di ba, kapag tayo nga ay papasok sa eskwelahan o sa trabaho, kung wala kang kinain, kumakalaman sikmura mo, di ba bugnutin ka na, mainitin na yung ulo mo. Di lalo na kung araw-araw na pumapasok ka na walang laman yung tiyan mo. It will have an effect on the mental faculties of the children. Yung 6 po na magtutuloy ng high school, 4 lamang ang makakatapos ng high school. Dahil ang number 1 problem naman po doon, yung learning to learn skills na dapat natutunan nila ng grade school, hindi na carry over sa high school. So, hindi po sila yung arithmetic skills, no? Yung reading skills, writing skills. So, pagdating mo na ng high school, may mga higher level subjects ka na kailangan matutunan, kung hindi ka marunong mag-add, mag-multiply, mag-subtract, saka mag-divide, paano mo matututunan gawin itong mga higher equations at paano mo masasagutan? Yung 4 naman po na magtatapos ng high school, isa lamang doon na makakapagtapos ng kolehiyo at doon po sa pag-aaral. And that was way back po, no? Several years ago, because yung K-12 started in 2012. So ginawa namin yung study was about 2010, 2011. Doon po sa isa na makakapagtapos ng kolehiyo, 30% lamang ng ating mga estudyante na pumupunta sa kolehiyo ay kinukuha nilang kurso ay related sa STEM. Okay? And that figure has not changed over time. In fact, it has gotten worse. So if we go to the next slide. Okay? Ito po yung status ng ating numeracy. 80% of grade 3 students struggle with multiplication, division, and geometry. Okay? Next slide, please. Okay? Ito po, 1 in 4 Filipino children are stunted. Or, ibig sabihin po niyan, kulang ang nutrisyon, nababansot. Kaya nga po, dahil na-identify natin to, binibigay ko po yung konteksto because now that we are identifying kung saan yung mga problema, dito naman po ngayon magtutuon ng solusyon ang ating gobyerno. Kaya nga ngayon, pinag-uusapan, no, when it comes to nutrition, hindi lamang kung kailan magsisimula ng pumasok yung estudyante sa eskwelahan. May mga usapan din po kami sa EDCOM na as early as pagbubuntis pa lang ng nanay, kailangan mabigyan na at matuunan ng tamang nutrisyon. Kasi kung sa loob pa lang ng sinapupunan at hindi na nabibigyan ng tamang nutrisyon, at lumabas na meron na kagad deficiency yung bata, no? Kahit na anong habol mo dyan ng pakain, bigyan ng tamang nutrisyon, meron na po kagad epekto yan sa development ng isang bata, no, sa kanyang mental faculties. Swerte po tayo, lalo na po dito sa mga nakatira sa Makati, dahil ito po ay isa sa mga tinuunan na atensyon ng ating pamahalaang lungsod. Para po dun sa mga kaibigan natin na nanggagaling sa ibang mga munisipalidad at sa mga ibang cities, sa Makati po, meron pong programa na no grade school children goes to school hungry. Tinatap lamang po nila yung kanilang ID. Kada araw po, meron silang natatanggap na pagkain. Okay? So, there's a free snack and a free drink. No? Tinatap po nila yung kanilang ID. So, walang papasok sa eskwelahan na walang laman yung tiyan. O kung walang laman yung tiyan mo, meron kang matatanggap na pagkain. Okay? Next slide, please. On early childhood education, okay, ito po yung pag-aaral. Ang target sana natin ay mapataas para sa murang edad pa lang, mabigyan na ng social skills at learning to learn skills yung ating mga bata. Ngunit ang participation rate po ng mga maliliit na bata na nag-a-avail ng early childhood education, early childhood education ay napakababa. Dahil hindi lahat ng barangay, hindi lahat ng munisipalidad, hindi lahat ng syudad ay may kakayahan na mag-offer ng early childhood education. In fact, isa din po to sa mga rekomendasyon ng EDCOM pinag-aaralan po ngayon. Currently po kasi, ang may hawak po ng supervision yan ay ang DSWD. Kaya po siya nakalagak sa kagaya po dito sa Makati, nakalagak po siya sa MSWD. Meron pong pag-aaral ngayon at mayroong rekomendasyon na ilipat po siya sa supervision ng DILG. Para po, it is now the local government unit's responsibility to ensure that at least every barangay will have a daycare center or an early childhood center for young children. Next slide. Okay. Ito po, classroom congestion and climate change contributes to learning loss. Hindi naman po kaila, kagaya nga kanina nung binanggit na sa kanilang field study, pag nagpupunta sila sa mga ibang mga probinsya o sa ibang mga munisipalidad, especially in 4th class, 5th class municipalities, kulang pa rin po talaga ang classrooms natin at maaayos na kagamitan. At hindi naman po lahat din ng mga classrooms na meron po tayo ay conducive to meet the changing effects of climate change. 'Di ba? Kaya ngayon may mga usapan na ibalik natin yung dating calendar ng school year kasi hindi naman lahat ng mga classroom air-conditioned. Okay? So, ang dami din pong mga classes natin na na-cancel dahil po sa deklarasyon na sa sobrang init o dahil sa bagyo, ang dami pong nare-record na learning loss, yung contact hours na nawawala sa ating mga estudyante. Ngunit, ito po, sabi ko nga, dahil na-identify natin yan, meron din tayong mga tinutuon na mga solusyon. In fact, nung kausap ko nga po yung ating Executive Director sa EDCOM, si Edie Carol, sabi niya, gusto rin niya magkaroon ng pagpupulong, mas lalo na sa mga private educational institutions, na ang dami namang empty classrooms. Bigyan ko po kayo ng halimbawa. Yung akin pong anak na babae ay grade 8 ngayon sa Colegio de Santa Rosa dito sa Makati. Napakalaki po, napakaganda ng kanilang eskwelahan. No? Ngunit, yung entire population nila from kinder up to senior high school is only 400 students. So they have a lot of empty classrooms. So sabi nga sa akin ni Edie Carol, pwede bang makausap? Kasi may budget naman ng gobyerno. Imbis na magpagawa ng classrooms na it will take time, kung pwede naman tayong makipag-partner sa mga private educational institutions, pwede nating rentahan yung mga classrooms na yan, magamit. Kung gusto nyo, magkaroon pa ng separate na entrance. So we're helping each other. Kasi kung titignan nyo po to, may mga araw na hindi sila magfe-face-to-face dahil nag-shift yung schedule. Meron din po mga classes, especially in public schools, na meron pa po mga ibang lugar na mga 3 shifts pa. Kaya yung iba, as early as 4 a.m., pumapasok na po ng eskwelahan. No? Hanggang very late in the evening. Next slide, please. Okay. So, ito po, isa din po itong isang perennial problem din na kinakaharap ng ating education sector. Nabanggit po natin to last year. Kaso, this will give you more context kung ano po ba yung ibig sabihin natin dito sa kakulangan ng mga libro. And this is more of a governance issue. Bakit po? Kasi may pera eh. Ang tanong, bakit hindi na-deliver yung mga libro? Ito pong mga pula na nakikita nyo po dyan sa screen, ibig sabihin po niyan, wala pong libro. So, halimbawa po, sa Araling Panlipunan, for grades 1, 2, 3, and 4, wala pong available na libro. For the subject Araling Panlipunan. Meron for grades 5 and 6, wala sa grade 7 and 8, meron sa grade 9, wala sa grade 10. So how can we expect our students to become better readers if there is no reading material available to them in the first place? Di ba po? So, tignan po natin yan. No? At ito po yung iba't ibang mga asignatura, iba't ibang mga subjects po nila. No? At yung nilatag po natin sa bawat grade level, makikita po natin kung saan merong kakulangan at saan po may nakikita tayong problema patungkol po sa pag-deliver po ng mga libro. Next slide. Okay. So, lumalabas din po, okay, meron din po tayong kakulangan, and this is also a challenge maybe to higher educational institutions. Ang dami po mga tests and assessments na hindi po naibigay on time o hindi po nakompleto dahil kulang po tayo ng mga may kakayahan na mag-conduct ng testing and measurement. So, kung kayo po ay napapabilang sa isang higher educational institution, baka this is a course that you may want to consider. No? Babalikan ko din po pala doon sa early childhood. Ayan din po, binanggit din po, alam ko, sinasabi din ni Teacher Jenny na kulang din tayo ng teachers na po niyan. In fact, last year, naalala ko, binanggit niyan kay Dr. Berganya na kung ano ba yung mga specializations na pwedeng pagtuunan din ng University of Makati. So, mapapansin niyo po, only 4 out of 2,396 universities offer specialization in educational measurement. with an average of only 6 graduates per year. So kulang na kulang po talaga. Okay? So, kung kulang din yung mga tao na nagre-review at gumagawa ng mga examination at nag-a-assess at nagte-test nito, hindi po malayo na yung mga ginagamit natin na measurements ay mga sinauna pa. Kaya nga po nung nireview nila, bakit ba mababa tayo doon sa mga examination, no, na ginagamit para sukatin yung kakayahan ng mga estudyante? Kasi nung tinignan nila how the examinations are actually crafted, ibang-iba sa klase ng mga tanong na binibigay pa rin natin hanggang ngayon sa ating mga estudyante. Okay? So, doon pa lamang po sa test construction at on how we train our students to answer questions, there is already a mismatch. Okay? Next slide po. Okay? So, in the past 3 years, ito, binanggit din po to, no? Our executive director in EDCOM has been harping this. In the past 3 years, 49,481 students applied for the Philippine Science High School program. 11,000 po ang nakapasa. Almost 12. Ngunit ang kaya lang nating tanggapin ay 5,800. Ano pong epekto nito? Yung mga magagaling nating mga estudyante, hindi nabibigyan ng oportunidad na makapasok sa Science High School. Para lalo pa pong mapalawak, no, yung galing nila. Dahil kulang po yung ating absorptive capacity. So, parang sinabi mo na nagbigay ka ng exam, qualifying exam, no? 100 yung nakapasa, these are the best and the brightest. Kaya lamang 40 lang yung slots na pwede mo silang matanggap. So anong gagawin nung 60? Hindi po nabibigyan ng oportunidad na ma-expose in our Science High School programs. Okay? Next. Okay. Ito. Tingin ko po, mamaya maraming sasabihin si Teacher Jenny tungkol dito. But 62% of our high school teachers are handling subjects they did not major in college. Okay? So, ang dami po nating naririnig na storya niyan. English major siya, ang tinuturo niya PE. O, di ba? O kaya naman, math major siya, ang tinuturo niya social studies. No? Marami po tayong mga ganyang mga kwento. Okay? Next slide, please. Ito pa. Dahil nalaman din po natin sa pag-trace po ng ating mga datos na halos kalahati po ng ating mga public schools sa Pilipinas ay wala pong principal. Okay? So, this is, because we are now identifying this, ngayon, the different agencies and the different departments are actually making solutions. No? They're now setting up more items, opening up more opportunities. So imaginein mo, di ba, kung isang eskwelahan tapos walang school head, mahirap mapatakbo, sabi nga kanina ng ating VP, no? Paano ka magkakaroon ng structure? Paano ka magkakaroon ng systems? Paano ka magkakaroon ng strategy if in the first place wala ngang head dun sa institution? Okay? Or no one is heading the institution. Okay? Next slide. Okay? This was in 2024. As much as 42 out of 88 school days were lost in 2024. The highest was actually in CAR, no? About 42%. Okay? Iba't ibang dahilan po yan, but ang pinaka-notable reason po niyan is because of climate change. Okay? Next. Okay? We also need to invest in higher levels skills training. So, napansin po namin, dun po sa pag-aaral, na ang dami pong kumukuha ng NC, ng National Certification mula sa TESDA. Ngunit, wala naman itong naidadagdag na ambag sa kanilang kita. Okay? So parang ang tanong, para ano pa na kumuha ka ng NC kung wala namang maidadagdag na kita, di ba? So ang pinaka-popular daw ay driving, bread and pastry. So, ngunit nakita din namin sa pag-aaral na kung yung NC mo ay magiging higher level, NC3 or NC4, okay, nagkakaroon ng significant change sa iyong capacity to earn. Nadadagdagan ng iyong kita. So ito ngayon ang challenge ngayon sa mga iba't ibang mga TVIs at educational institutions na to start offering higher level NC certifications. And in fact, dahil may naipasa na po tayo na bagong batas, yung EBET law, which is actually in a way is an upgrade of the dual training law. No? Naipasa na po yung IRR niyan. Yung mga partner naman po ng mga kumpanya are now given a lot of incentives if they actually avail of the EBET law. And nag-commit din po ang national government na popondohan po yan. May karagdagang nga daw po na 1 billion na ibibigay sa TESDA sa 2026 para po tuunan yung mga higher level skills training. Next slide, please. Ito pa po yung isang binanggit nung kami po ay nagmi-meeting. Ang dami pong mga iba't ibang agencies kung saan involved yung DepEd, CHED, and TESDA. So they attend all of these interagency meetings. Pwera pa po yung kanilang mga regular functions. Kaya nga sabi nga po kanina ni Dean Jason, kabulong ko nga po kanina si Dr. Hoxton, sabi niya, I have to give up one meeting just to be here. So you could just imagine almost every day, baka puro meeting ang meeting. Yung mga commissioners naman natin sa CHED, attend ng mga board meetings din ng mga iba't ibang mga SUCs. So if you go to the next slide, no? Ito pa po, yung mga 18 interagency bodies attended jointly by those 3 agencies. But nakakapagtaka kasi nung kami po ay gumagawa ng workshop plan, one of the recurring theme is sana mapag-isa ulit natin itong tatlong ito. Bakit po kaya binabanggit yan paulit-ulit? Because it only goes to show that until now, these agencies operate in silos. They rarely talk or coordinate with each other. Hopefully, with the new leadership, with Seksani and DG Kiko, no, nakita ko po, just last month, they signed an agreement together to work closely together. Sana po mabago yan. But I'm sharing this kasi sa sobrang dami ng mga trabaho na ginagawa nila at mga meetings na kailangan nilang atenan, minsan ang tanong ay, yung bang pinaka-importanting trabaho na tutugunan pa? Okay? Next. Okay? Ito po, okay? Although patuloy naman na tumataas ang budget natin sa education, year in and year out, our education, the budget allotted by the national government, kasi nakalagay, mandato rin naman yan sa ating batas na kailangan sa education may pinakamalaking share ng budget. But yung incremental increase is eaten up by the cost of inflation. Okay? So, on average, okay, parang 1.33% na lang ang nagiging increase natin. Our inflation this year already stands at 6%. So, in reality, no, kahit nadadagdagan yung pera, yung value naman o yung dami ng pwede mong magamit doon sa budget mo ay numinipis, lumiliit dahil bumababa din yung value ng pera natin. Okay? And of course, there is also a call na saan ba, because may limitation naman talaga tayo sa ating budget, saan ba mas kailangan pagtuunan ng mas malaking gastos? Nakita po kasi na parang may disparity, although malaki yung budget na napupunta sa DepEd, but it could have been more kung some of the priorities, especially those that are given in higher ed, can be channeled also to basic ed. Okay? Kasi sa foundations naman po kasi talaga magsisimula. Okay? Next slide, please. Okay? So, we need to invest more in early childhood education and key stages, or the key stage is on grades 1 to 3. So sabi nga po dun sa pag-aaral, since 2016, most resources have been channeled to higher levels of education amidst modest increase in primary education. So makikita po natin yung hati. No? Yung kulay blue, yun po yung budget na napupunta sa primary education. Yung dilaw po is sa secondary education. So pagka pinag-add nyo po, no? At yung sa pula, yan naman po yung sa mga state colleges and universities. So meron pong panawagan na sana mas maraming pondo pa ang mapunta po sa basic ed. Okay? Next slide. Okay? Ito po, yung SEF, Special Education Fund. Ang problema naman po na nakita nila dito, not all LGUs and not all cities are created the same. Swerte po tayo dito sa Makati, where we are from, because it's a highly urbanized city. Malaki po yung special education fund ng Makati. Minsan nga ang problema is isipin kung saan pagkakagastusan pa yung pera. Kaya nga, biruin nyo, pati yung mga senior high school students namin dito sa city, pati yung kanilang JS Prom libre. Sa hotel pa po ginagawa. 'Di ba? Sa Dusit, 'di ba? Pagka kayo po ay doon po makikita nyo, yung example naman, in a 5th class municipality, ang equivalent na SEF na makukuha niya is only 1,123,000. At yun pong SEF na yun yung gagamitin niya para sa lahat ng kanyang estudyante. So, ang layo po, di ba? Ang layo. So, there are also calls on how to equitably distribute it. Or kung, of course, ito po mga binabanggit ko, yung iba dyan would need amendments to existing legislations or would need new laws. But, pinapakita lamang po niya na kahit na may SCF fund, no, hindi pa rin po equitable yan. Okay? Next slide. So, you can go next slide na. I'd like to focus on, sige po. Sige pa. Next. So, this one, para lang po mabigyan kayo ng timeline, no? It has been 100 years since the Monroe Survey. Ito po yung kauna-unahan talagang ginawa na comprehensive study about Philippine education. So, makikita nyo po yung timeline dyan. Okay? From 1925 up to 1991. Next. Okay? So this is now our challenge. Sabi ko nga po kanina is to come up with a national education plan. Next slide. Okay? Next po. Because I'd like to focus on the higher ed. Next. Sige po. Ito. So, these were the priority areas that I mentioned last year when we had this Teacher Education Summit. No? Binanggit ko po yung mga iba't ibang mga identified na priority issues. Of course, these are not the only issues affecting education, but I'd like to focus on higher ed as Dr. Hoxon will later on focus on teacher ed. No? On access to quality higher education, what are we currently doing? We are now currently actually developing a revised regulatory framework for CHED. Okay? Kasi we feel, and this is the common observation, especially when we do consultations with other higher educational institutions, that the Commission has become highly regulatory and no longer developmental. Meaning, kung ikaw ay isang universidad, wala ng flexibility in measuring your greatness as a university, but only following one template. Okay? So, dito po sa proposal na ginagawa po namin ngayon, magkakaroon po ng both horizontal at saka vertical typology. Meaning, iba dapat ang panukat sa isang local university, iba ang panukat kung ikaw ay SUC, iba ang panukat kung ikaw naman ay private higher educational institution, at ganun din kung ikaw ay kolehiyo. Okay? Because there are certain metrics that is not applicable to an LUC, to an SUC, and to a private higher educational institution. There are also certain unique characteristics amongst these three institutions. Kasi, halimbawa po, as a local college or a local university, ang primary metric po talaga niyan is employability ng kanyang mga graduates. Kaya siya tinayo nung kanyang mayor o nung kanyang pamahalaang lungsod para mabigyan ng opportunity yung mga residente, primarily the residents of that city or municipality, na makapartake doon sa mga trabaho na available doon sa syudad o sa munisipalidad. Hindi po sinasabi ng mayor na kailangan maging number 1 tayo in terms of research. Kailangan makapag-produce tayo ng Scopus publications. Kung ang pangalan mo na ay isang pamantasan, ay susukatin ka ng CHED, hanapan ka ng research. Hindi ko po sinasabing hindi importante yon. Ngunit, hindi ka mapapabilang doon sa mga autonomous o yung bibigyan nila ng deregulated o yung bibigyan nila ng Center of Excellence kung hindi mo masukat yung metric na yun. So yun yung sinasabi natin ngayon. This is one of the things that we are actually doing. We are now working on the IRR for the revised law of the framework and operation of the regulatory framework of CHED. On strengthening, also under access to quality higher education, we're also working on the strengthening of academe-industry linkages. And one of the significant milestones that we are doing is actually on micro-credentials. Okay? We are now including micro-credentials as part of the PQF review, the Philippine Qualifications Framework. We are also ensuring inclusive access to higher education. So, meron din po kaming ginagawang pag-aaral ngayon to amend yung UNIFAST and the TES law. Okay? We are also working on improving the quality of higher education, education programs in terms of learning outcomes and program relevance. So, ito po, pinag-uusapan din namin, nire-review po yung mga existing curricular programs at yung iba't ibang mga general education courses. Kasi isa po yan dun sa lumabas na discussion. Nung in-implement po yung senior high school, the goal was to shorten the years in college. Kaso parang ang nangyari po, pag tinignan natin ngayon, ay either nadagdagan pa o hindi rin naman nabawasan. Okay? So we're also working on the improving the quality education, filling the gaps in professional and critical sectors. This is actually one of the major discussions that we are having in EDCOM2, especially in the Higher Education Committee. As a nation, when we are drafting the National Education Plan, ano ba ang gusto nating ma-achieve? Kasi yung ibang bansa, pag tinignan natin yung modelo, like in Vietnam, in China, when they sent their best and the brightest students to study abroad and come back to them and serve their country, there was a specific vision and mission what they want to happen for their country. Kaya nga ngayon, di tayo nagtataka bakit napag-iiwanan na tayo ng Vietnam. So ang tanong ngayon dito, ano ba ang mas kailangan nating i-produce? Do we need more teachers? Do we need more doctors? Do we need more engineers? Ngayon po kasi, hindi pa talaga konkreto. Ano ba yung kailangan natin pagtuunan ng pansin when we craft the National Education Plan for the country? On the item on quality assurance, yung pangalawa po, no? We are now working on the referencing report for the ASEAN Quality Reference Framework. Pinag-uusapan din po namin ngayon yung harmonization ng mga iba't ibang mga quality assurance bodies. Okay? So, ibig sabihin po niyan, kung halimbawa, we will come up with a standard, more or less, like, hindi naman standard, but like a sense of agreement that there will be portability as far as instruments used by different accrediting agencies. Okay? At para po mangyari yan, kailangan mag-agree sila. So, halimbawa po, kung ikaw ay accredited ng PAASCU at ikaw naman ay magpapa-accredit halimbawa sa ALCOCOA, yung previous accreditation mo can be carried over. You won't go back to zero. Okay? Nabanggit ko po kanina, we're also working on the typology and outcomes-based QA for autonomous and deregulated higher educational institutions. Okay? Ito naman po, on efficiency of public and private education, we are actually working on the distribution of private and public HEI programs as additional evidence of complementarity. We're also working on the graduate education and research. Pinag-aaralan din po namin ngayon. This is actually in partnership with the Teacher Ed subcommittee to start with graduate programs on teacher education institutions. Okay? We're also working on developing actually better research and innovation and an enterprise ecosystem. So we're partnering with the DOST on this. Okay? On digital transformation, nabanggit po yan kanina, especially on the advent of AI. No? We're also looking at how to integrate this in higher education. On internationalization of higher education, okay, we're also looking at a roadmap, okay, a 3-year roadmap. Why are we internationalizing actually also in the first place? Now, doon po sa mga binanggit ko kanina, actually, doon sa workshop na inatenan namin ni Dr. Hoxon, there were 11 forces of change that were mentioned that can affect Philippine education. And these are forces of change that we have to be ready about. And some of these were already highlighted in the presentation that I just made. The first one is the exigency of learning poverty in the Philippines. Okay. Yung COVID lockdown, ang laki po ng naging epekto niyan sa learning gap. Ang estimate nga daw po ay 5.5 years ang kailangan nating habulin. Okay? Nabanggit ko na po kanina na 9 out of 10 Filipino children aged 10 are unable to read and understand age-appropriate texts. And there is also an alarming educational deficit that could squander the Philippines' demographic divide available between 2025 up to 2070. Ano pong ibig sabihin nito? Isa po sa mga tinitignan ng ibang mga bansa na strength ng ating bansa na Pilipinas is because we still have a relatively young population demographic. Hindi ko po kagaya sa ibang mga bansa na talagang aging population na po sila. Kaya lang, that demographic will actually put to waste if we don't have an educated workforce. Okay? Yung pangalawa po, yung crippling malnutrition. Lumabas din po sa kanina, binanggit natin, 1 in 4 Filipino children is stunted and suffers the effects of malnutrition, including delayed cognitive development. Stunted learners face diminished chances of upward social mobility as adults. So just imagine if we have a generation of malnourished Filipino youth, puts the nation's long-term economic and social development also at risk. Yung pangatlo, at ito po ay nakatuon sa mga karamihan po ng nandito, the growing scarcity of qualified teachers. Ang dami pong educational institutions na nagpo-produce ng mga teacher education graduates. Kaso bakit paulit-ulit na sinasabi na kulang pa rin ang mga teachers? Okay? Actually po, yung reason behind that, yung low quality ng mga teachers na napoproduce po natin. Okay? Wait lang po Someone is calling, so sorry. Low teacher wages, heavy workload, inadequate support, and low social standing discourage teachers from staying in the profession in the Philippines. These are actually compounded by frequent misalignment between teacher specializations and their teaching assignments. Instructional quality is undermined, contributing further to learning loss. Naalala ko po minsan sa isang meeting, nabanggit po ng aming Vice President for Academic Affairs because he is in the discipline of public administration. Nung tinatanong po yung mga Pilipino, ano ang pinakaninanais mo sa gobyerno? Ang akala po niya na magiging sagot ay trabaho, healthcare, no? Better services. Ngunit ang binanggit po niya ay tratuhin sila ng may dangal. Actually, yun po ang number one reason kung bakit po umaalis ang ating mga guro. Kasi sa totoo lamang po, medyo maayos na yung pasweldo natin, especially in the public educational system, no? In fact, yun nga ang problema ng mga private schools Hindi na nila kaya makakompete doon sa sweldo ng mga public schools. Kaya lang, ang layo na napansin nila, they're not treated with much respect, they're not treated with much dignity. Yung lumabas nga po ng pag-aaral na yung mga teachers, Filipino teachers in Vietnam, kinikwento nila yung experience nila, doon they are treated with respect and dignity. No? So yung sweldo sa kanila is secondary. It is really, yung mataas na pagtingin sa kanila bilang isang professional na teacher. Yun ang mas matimbang para po sa kanila. Increasing climate disruptions. Hindi naman po kaila sa atin na tayo ay daanan parate ng mga man-made at saka natural calamities. So ito po mga interruptions na to will only worsen the learning deficit and inequality. Ang tanong, handa ba yung mga classrooms natin to be resilient in these kinds of disruptions? Okay? The mental health epidemic. Okay? Filipino Gen Z are among the loneliest in Southeast Asia. Lumabas din po yan sa pag-aaral. So, kaya nga po, if left unaddressed, these issues could lead to worsen learning loss but also increase burnout among teachers. Ang hirap po maging teacher ngayon sa mga Gen Z na mga estudyante. Okay? Mga nonchalant, di ba? Yun yung ginagamit nila na term. Okay? The emergence of AI as co-intelligence. So nabanggit po yan kanina. Okay? So without AI literacy, thinking, creativity, and decision-making will be outsourced to machines. So dapat mga teachers natin ngayon din marunong na rin on how to use AI. The rise of alternative learning certifications. May relevance pa ba ang mga higher educational institutions? Kasi parang lahat ngayon, there is a growing acceptance of micro-credentials and other substitute certificates as adequate qualifications for employment. Okay? The slippery slope of herd thinking. Truth is devalued and learning itself is compromised. So, yun yung binanggit ng ating VP kanina. We get our information most of the time through social media without really verifying whether the content is true or not. Okay? Erosion of institutional authorities and influence. Trust and influence of institutions including education is eroded and devalued. Mataas pa rin po ba ang pagtingin natin sa mga educational institutions at sa mga guro? the endangerment of private education. So dito po may mga private educational leaders and owners. Alam ko po, especially yung mga small ones, you're struggling because of enrollment issues. Hindi po ba? Okay. Persistence of legacy structures and practices in government. Yung nakita po natin problema kanina dun sa libro, sabi ko nga po, may pera. Ang tanong, bakit hindi napoprocure? This is a structural issue, a systemic issue that affects not only the education sector but our government as a whole. So, ito pong mga updates na to na binahagi ko po sa inyo. Lahat po yan ngayon ay pinagtutuunan at hinahanapan ng solusyon. And hopefully, tayo pong lahat ay maging parte ng solusyon. So, bago po ako matapos, iwanan ko po kayo ng isang tanong. At yun po sana yung pag-isipan nyo. Okay? Doon po sa workshop na yon, kami pong mga participants, we were pulled aside one by one. Some of us were pulled aside one by one. And we were interviewed. We were asked the question. And this is the same question that I will leave to each and every one. You can answer it on your own, but ponder on what your answer would be. What is your future for Philippine higher education? Or what is your future for Philippine education? Ano ang gusto mong makita? Ano ang ninanais mo para sa edukasyon sa ating bansa? My answer to that is centered also on our core values as an institution here in UMAC. Sana maging resilient sa hinaharap pa at sa mga harapin pa na mga pagsubok yung ating educational system sa ating bansa. Okay? Yung anchored nga doon sa ating core values na RISE. Diba? So, but yun yung nakikita ko eh. No? Na sana yung ating education system ay mas may maganda pang hinaharap kaysa sa ngayon. Okay? So, this is in a nutshell the state of Philippine education right now. And sometimes we need to come up with creative solutions. So I'll end with a very quick story, which I shared also in our planning exercise. No? Meron daw isang teacher, pauwi, no? Galing sa trabaho, okay? Graduate siya ng UMAC, ang lakas ng ulan. Meron siyang sasakyan, dalawa lang yung pwedeng makasakay dun sa sasakyan niya. So nakita niya, may tatlong nag-aabang din na masasakyan pa uwi. Kilala niya yung tatlo. Okay? Sobrang lakas ng ulan, walang makuhang sasakyan dito sa JP Rizal. Yung isa, dati niyang professor sa UMAC. Nagtuturo pa rin, no? But seasoned faculty already at the University of Makati. Malapit na mag-retire, no? Retiring faculty. Yung isa, classmate niya ng college, teacher na rin sa University of Makati. Best friend niya. At yung pangatlo, bagong faculty sa UMAC, na-crush niya. Okay? Eh dahil two-seater lang pala yung kanyang sasakyan, ang tanong, sinong isasakay niya? Di ba? Ang tanong, sinong isasakay niya? Yung bang dati niyang teacher na pa-retire na, sinong magtataas ang kamay, sinong pipiliin yon? Yung dating teacher. Wala! Hindi nyo man lang isasakay yung mga teacher nyo. O yung pangalawa, yung classmate niya, naging best friend niya, colleague niya na ngayon, di ba? O yung pangatlo, yung kanyang crush. Oh, yung crush daw. Yeah, yung crush. It's a very difficult decision, di ba? Kasi yung tatlo, lahat, meron siyang motive na bakit gusto niyang isakay. Okay? Sometimes, we have to think of a out-of-the-box solution. So ang ginawa niya, okay, huminto siya dun sa tapat ng tatlo, binigay niya yung susi nung sasakyan sa kanyang best friend para isakay yung kanyang faculty, yung teacher niya, na malapit na mag-retire para maihatid at para maiwan siya doon katabi niya yung kanyang crush. Sometimes, we have to come up with creative solutions to be able to address the problems that we face in Philippine education. And I hope that when you become future teachers, future educators, that you will also be that inspiration and that you will also be the solution. Sabi nga kanina, di ba? We will become the solution, we will become the answer, and we will become actually the future builders of this land. Magandang umaga po. Maraming salamat.
Thank you very much, Professor Ramos, for that comprehensive and substantial report of the status of our Philippine education. I know everyone assimilated and accommodated knowledge po ulit, no? Marami po tayong natutunan, marami po tayong kanya-kanyang bit-bit. Maraming krisis na haharapin, as you have heard earlier, but I think one thing is also sure, kapag usapang crush talaga, no? Walang krisis na masyadong malaki, correct? So, I heard that from the backstage as I was listening. I could hear everyone, a lot of students from this side saying, yung crush nila yung papasakayin nila. But it's always good to balance the crisis with the crush so you can come up with creative solutions. On that note, we would like to present this certificate of appreciation to our speaker, Professor Elixir C. Ramos. Please allow me to also read the citation, and as I read the citation, we'd like to request Dean Berganya, along with the members of the Management Committee, to please join us on stage as we award this certificate. This certificate of appreciation is presented to Professor Elixir C. Ramos in sincere recognition of your invaluable contribution as keynote speaker at the Education Summit 2025, themed Innovated, Breaking the Perennial Cycle of the Philippine Education in Crisis, Reflections, Insights, and Solutions. Your scholarly discourse and visionary insights have profoundly enriched the academic dialogue, providing critical perspectives and forward-thinking strategies that inspire educators and stakeholders to advocate for transformative and sustainable reforms in Philippine education. This recognition is conferred with deepest gratitude and high regard given this 25th day of March 2025 at the University of Makati Auditorium, signed Jason Berganya, Dean of the College of Innovative Teacher Education, Ederson D.T. Tapia, PhD, DPA, Vice President for Academic Affairs. Let us all give him a warm applause.